So listen, I've been in ministry for many, many years, and I've seen so many amazing things that God has done, just on so many different levels. But one of the most special things happened within the last 2 years actually, and it had to do with another church here in our city and the journey that they started to go through and where that ended up.
I have been part of Bethel right from the beginning, right from the time it started. Over the years, we watched as numbers were declining in our church. It was hard to admit, but Bethel was a dying church.
Most churches end up just sort of declining until there's almost nothing left. The people at Bethel, they did something different, which I think is beautiful. And they said, no, we really hope that this place can continue for the next generation to be a place where the hope of Jesus is alive and reaching people in our area.
We were meeting as council, and one of the council members said, we're dying, we have to do something. That's when it was decided to call the Church Renew people from Grand Rapids, and we got a hold of Elaine and Keith and basically said, we're reaching out to you to figure out where we can go from here and what we should be doing. And Elaine and Keith were the ones that said, before we do anything, let's find out what God wants us to do. It was 40 days of prayer and 40 days of Bible readings leading us to think about where as a church God would want us to go.
And I won't ever forget, I had a phone call from one of the people of this church. So they asked me if we would be interested in possibly exploring with them a process by which they would find their church, Bethel Christian Reformed Church, ceasing to exist and then becoming joined with and relaunched as Forest City Community Church in East London. And then a series of meetings were set up in which we spoke as candidly as we could with one another about their situation and about what this new thing would look like.
I remember getting ready for those meetings, and I remember thinking, I'm a little nervous to share some of what we're doing. But then I was also more excited about, what God has been doing through our church, and just excited to share the possibility of what could be.
We knew we needed to see God leading the way, and that's exactly what we saw happen. And so over a period of months, the congregation processed this. Decisions were made, and then we got to work. And we got to work retrofitting the facility, envisioning people, relaunching the church. And it's you can't even recognize anymore the difference, the amount of people, the children, the life change that's happening. And it's one of the most thrilling things that I've been a part of in my years of ministry.
It's been an amazing year plus of ministry here in this space. We've run alpha courses, we've run starting points dinners, we've run villages are up and running, these groups where people can get to know one another and dive deeper into their Bibles and grow in faith.
I got invited to the Winter Alpha from a friend of mine, and she said, there's this program at the church, it's called Alpha, and it's a very open space, you can go, you can learn about it, you can ask questions. And I was like, doesn't really seem like my thing, but I'll give it a shot, we'll see what happens. When I started Alpha, the first session, I cried during the first video, and I felt very overwhelmed. I was like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be, and I felt immediately connected. I was like, I need to start doing my research, I need to start reading the Bible, I need to learn about Jesus, what he did for us, and that's kind of how it started, how it's going now.
I was very lost and broken and looking for direction. And I was at that bottom point where I didn't know who else to talk to, what community was there to listen or support. My cousin plays in the band, and he said, I'm going Sunday, if you want to come on by. So I said, this is that answer of looking for something and someone. Who showed up that first day, almost cried the first day, and the first time that I showed up, it was everything that I was looking for.
I hate to think this, but looking back, I had lost my love for church. over the last 5 years. But the last year, I loved coming to church.
You know, when I think about the whole journey of what happened over the last few years with this church that closed and reopened as a new church, I often think about the central truth and historical moment of the Christian faith, which is the death and the resurrection of Jesus. Sometimes even a church has to die for new life, for resurrection to happen. And this church actually allowed themselves to die. And the new life that is happening in this community is stunning. And it is one of God's great redemption stories.